Hi, welcome to another episode of On Transit, the TV show On Transit that takes place on transit.
This episode of On Transit is the second of a two-part series about December 4th, 2004, the day that the Hiawatha Line was completed.
I think we need a top 10 list here just to get us going. But I'm only going to do 8 because Randy's got to catch the train or catch the plane. So the top 8 reasons I'm glad the Hiawatha Line is finally finished. Number 8, I always wanted to go to the Mall of America for lunch. Number 7, it proves we need a new geography graduation standard because there are people who think the Hiawatha Line is a line to nowhere. Number 6, it's always good to get over $300 million of our federal tax money back into Minnesota. Thank you, Congressman Federo. Thank you, Senator Coleman. To quote Rudy Perpich, number 5, jobs, jobs, jobs. Number 4, I don't have to go pick up my wife at the airport tomorrow because she'll take the train home. Number 3, it's cheaper than taking the kids to the movie at the Mall of America. Sorry, John. Where are you? Number 2, I don't have to worry about all those things I used to predict about ridership and development because they're actually happening now. And number one, the number one reason I'm glad the Hiawatha Line is finally done because we can now get on with building the next line, and the next line after that. That's why I'm here in this yellow shirt. That's what this is about. We're celebrating that here today. So as we look to the future in this metro area, it's a future with the North Star Line to Big Lake and sooner rather than later to St. Cloud and Rice. A future that brings families from Lakeville into downtown Minneapolis for a Vikings game or for a Twins game. A future where there's a connection between Minneapolis and St. Paul, Eden Prairie, with light rail transit connecting them. Our job is to make that future a reality. We can do it. The momentum is there to do it, to build it. It won't happen by accident or pretty words, but we can do it, and that's our job.
Most people are very happy with the train. They like it a lot, and they want it in their neighborhoods. A lot of people are pretty jealous that it's going to other people and not to them yet. They want it to come south of the river. They want it to come to St. Paul. They want it all over the place. They're really liking it.
This particular line now only being 12 miles long, I would like to see it longer, but I think the future of the planning for spokes off of it is a really good idea.
What we've got is a plan. The Met Council and other groups have come up with a plan for multimodal. In other words, light rail, commuter rail, high-speed busways, bikeways, walkways, all methods of getting us to and from without needing a car. And if we can accomplish this, it would be great, but we need a dedicated funding source to do that.
Well, I'm a real advocate of transit and developing, first of all, developing a system of corridors and then filling in those corridors with the right kind of transit mode, but putting a lot more emphasis with our transportation dollars into transit than we are, because I think that's the wave of the future.
We're not going to build our way out of this mess with added lanes of highways. It just isn't going to work.
This one line is great, and I know it's exceeding expectations in terms of ridership, and a lot of people are taking it. But in order for it to function, at its peak level, they need more and more systems to go throughout the cities, not just the one line. So general expansion, I think you'll see more people riding it. It'll be more financially viable and just a better system altogether.
I think basically it goes back to my environmental roots because I really believe in helping to keep the environment as clean as possible for future generations. And to me, transit does that because I think automobiles are big polluters with burning fossil fuel and the exhaust. And hybrids are coming. but that'll take a while. And so I think transit is the idea where more people can ride in one vehicle, and then it keeps more cars off the road, and so it helps with moving people, but it also helps keep the environment cleaner.
When people actually try transit, guess what? They love it. If they don't try it, they're kind of scared. So I'm kind of glad to see the free bus stuff today and tomorrow again for the opening of the light rail. And I hope that we can kind of have some other days when we get people to get on the bus and try it out and find out how neat it is to go to work and come home on a bus and not worry about traffic. And the more buses and the more light rail and the more commuter rail we have, the easier it's going to be for me to get around when I'm 80 and hopefully 90 years old.
One of the things that's cool about the Hiawatha line is that you really, if you choose to live along the line, and it is a choice, you have the opportunity to have a very high quality life. You can get to the airport, you can get downtown, you can get access to recreational uses. So, you know, you have a very livable, that's why Transit for Livable Communities, you have a very livable community by living along the line.
Well, Hiawatha Line, I think, is really an excellent example of how transit can help shape and influences a region's attitude about travel and getting to destinations. And we're seeing a lot of new customers take transit because of the Hiawatha Line. And the other thing that's really interesting is to see how the development starts to shape around transit lines such as the Hiawatha Light Rail line.
First of all, the FTA really looks for regions that are willing to connect their transit with land use because of the economic development benefits of land use. And so the Hiawatha Line was perfect for that because there's lots of opportunity along it. The city and the Met Council and the county put in hundreds of thousands of dollars so that citizens could participate in developing master plans. So there's completed master plans at every station along the stop. And so now it's an effort of bringing together, implementing those master plans and working with the existing property owners and interested developers and ensuring that the vision for TOD, which is a new land use for us. I mean, we don't have anything that we can compare it to. It's brand new. So it really takes some vigilance to guide that sort of development and look for folks who are willing to maybe behave in ways that they haven't before. So we're making some progress. And I mean, I think probably the best example of all of this is the Bloomington station, the Central station. It's just phenomenal.
Nearly as important as the transit portion of what's coming into our city in Bloomington is the fact that it's going to really spur some development throughout the community, and you're standing in the middle of it. This Central Station is the centerpiece for a 43-acre private public development project, and ultimately will integrate transit with new homes, new offices, and new retailing opportunities on this site, and we're really excited and looking forward to that.
Welcome to Bloomington Central Station. On behalf of everyone at McGough and our friends at Health Partners, I want to thank you all for being here. In addition to being the home of light rail, this is also the location, the site of an exciting and vibrant 43-acre transit-oriented development.
And if I might tell a story about Bloomington Central, that's the site that's around the Health Partners site, and McGough Development bought that site, and they had planned to build just your more standard master plan community. And they encountered some folks who were from out of town who were familiar with TOD, and they explained to them that they were missing the boat, that there was a great opportunity to do something different here, and took them touring all over the country to look at other TOD models. And the result of that is amazing. You know, it's a very amazing TOD village with the light rail that runs right down through the middle, and it brings together office and housing, and it's really a model for our line.
Our vision for this spectacular site includes over 1,000 housing units, a hotel and conference center, a retail component, and upwards of 1 million square feet of office space. McGough and Health Partners are thrilled to be a part of this impressive undertaking. The Hiawatha Line is an integral part of our plans for this site. We've invested in enhancements to the Hiawatha project and accordingly have named our development Bloomington Central Station.
The land use patterns around transit are different. They tend to be more dense. They really build on the fact that you may not need to have a car. So it's development that's very integrated with transit use.
This promises to be the largest transit-oriented project on the entire Hiawatha Line.
Actually, the city of Bloomington this next Monday will be voting on the approval of a plan to extensively develop this South Metro area on the joining the Bloomington Central and the 28th Avenue lots and stations, and that all came about because the developers have had a vision that transit can really help solidify a vibrant mix of development between housing, between business, and between retail.
I mean, the thing that struck me is how much the size of the investment in that development compared to the size of the investment in the Hiawatha Line. I mean, it's kind of, in a way, it's paying for itself. Could you talk about that?
I mean, this is new to our market, so and also in Minnesota, sometimes it takes us a little while longer to try something new, but the property value around these station areas is expected and already has increased. In some markets, Vancouver is one, the transit provider there actually charges a premium for any development that occurs around the line because the demand is so great there, but it's proven. So in time, I think that both the market in terms of the folks who build and the folks who want to buy, we're going to see increased demand all along this line. So we just have to make sure that the land use decisions that are being made are the types of decisions that will protect that kind of future rather than create obstacles to being able to realize that future down the line. That's the important part.
I take it every day to go to work in the mornings and at night, and it's really packed, and that's good. But I think that to continue to be successful, it also needs to expand, and it'd be nice to get an east-west connector so that people who live in St. Paul can take the benefits of not having to be sitting in congestion as well.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a magnificent, that they should. They need to expand it because St. Paul needed it too, and Twin City, this is too late coming, but it's about time.
It's very convenient, for the people. But like he was saying about St. Paul, they do need to expand it over there.
Yeah, St. Paul do.
Going that way also by, Minneapolis and St. Paul being twin cities. And then it would really be, a lot more convenient. But this is nice already.
I'm thrilled that it's been so successful. Seems to have, I believe the ridership is up at least 50% over what was expected, at times as high as 75% over their expectations. Every time somebody gets on it, makes traffic a little bit easier, and it sure helps to improve the chances of North Star's funding next year.
Well, our task now as the owner and operator of Hiawatha is to operate an efficient and reliable service forevermore in the future. And the next step, we're going to be working with the North Star folks to be doing some final design work for the North Star commuter rail project and have further discussions to move that project forward.
I'm volunteering at the North Star booth at the second phase of the light rail opening.
This is the beginning of the creation of a system. And that's, I think, the next big step here. And I've got my North Star jacket on today because we are working hard. We're going to work hard in the 2005 legislative session to get the funding we need to start building the North Star Corridor. We're working on Central Corridor, which will connect Minneapolis and St. Paul. And then there's future work being done on the Southwest Corridor that will be an extension of Hiawatha through St. Louis Park and Hopkins and out to Eden Prairies.
North Star Commuter Rail is an 84-mile line that will go ultimately from Minneapolis up to Big Lake in 2008 and then further on into Rice in the future years. It'll move commuters back and forth during peak traffic times to get people off of Highway 10 and onto a train in a more civilized manner.
And I live by St. Cloud, and I'm interested in the North Star corridor coming up to St. Cloud, right down to the downtown Minneapolis.
I work for Anoka County, and it became a project that was very important to our county. And I don't live along Highway 10, but I have to drive in traffic every day. And anything that I can do to help alleviate traffic problems, I'm willing to work on.
We developed some grassroots support in St. Cloud, had a rally at the state capitol, and Transit for Livable Communities, especially Dan Walsh, were very helpful in our work.
I have a friend that lives in Big Lake. I have friends that live in Clearwater. And I think it would just be really nice for people that work down here particularly or come to see family that they could ride on a train to come down to the city.
I'm getting to an age where I'm not excited about driving on the freeway. And in a few years, I'm going to be wanting to have some other method of getting into the cities because this is where my children live. Also, I think that we cannot build ourselves out of traffic jams with more highways. We need another type of transportation between those two metropolitan areas.
The North Star line, which is the one going up to Big Lake and was supposed to go up to St. Cloud but got cut back to Big Lake. Unfortunately, that hit a snag last year, so we're really hoping that that'll pass through the legislature and get funded this year because that's a huge traffic corridor.
We need to have North Star in the bonding bill. We need the state dollars to match the federal funds so we can make sure we get the project built.
Well, we have a lot of work to do with our legislators. They just are so backward in terms of recognizing the value of transit. It's good economics, it's good politics, it's good for the environment, it's good on so many fronts, but we're still a single auto driver state, and so we have a lot of education to do. And I think when you build a system like this, it'll show people what can happen, and that'll help with future pieces of legislation to expand the system.
Then I'm real excited that Minneapolis put their foot down with MnDOT and said, let's have high-speed bus on 35W to the downtown heart of Minneapolis. Let's not fool around with this. Let's do it. And then I think all the other spokes, particularly the one, the LRT that's going to go from Minneapolis, Washington University Avenue to St. Paul. I think that's going to be a big one because that's going to kind of connect our two cities, and because we are twin cities, and we should be able to ride transit, not just bus, but we should be able to ride the LRT to go over there.
And I would like to see transit go, St. Cloud to Minneapolis, Minneapolis to Rochester, Minneapolis to Wilmer, Minneapolis to Stillwater, all through the state. And I think with the line that we have now, with the light rail line, we're starting to become a world-class city. And I think transit will help us achieve that world-class status.
We're way behind our peer cities for better transit. We cannot build our way out of this with roads. Every time they build a road, what happens is by the time the road's done, it's already overcrowded. I watched that with 394. The minute they finished that 5-year, $500 million project, it was overcrowded and out of date. And in that same time frame, John Darris, who was then my county commissioner in Hennepin County, was advocating for a 5-line light rail system that he could not get anybody to go along with. And that would have cost, guess what, $500 million at that time. That was the estimated cost. So this is just great that we've finally gotten this first leg of light rail. And I now live in St. Paul. I just can't wait to get the transportation system up and running.
The more transit that we can get into the city, the better it's going to be, because we run into some hellacious traffic every morning and every afternoon, no matter where you are in the city, and sometimes even in the middle of the day. Our road system here is a good system, but it's outdated and it needs to be upgraded. And so the more people I think that we can get riding on the transits, by either high-speed buses or the trains, I think it's just going to have to happen. If somebody said the other day in the paper we're supposed to have a substantial increase in population in this 7-county or 10-county area by the year 2020. So we're already crowded. We're already sitting in traffic longer than any of us want to, so it's going to happen.
I wish I were involved in the opening of this extension line that will serve downtown St. Paul at some point in the future. We'll get there. I've been pushing for that for more than a decade. I see my friends from Anoka County here. Someday we'll get the North Star line connected to this too and move that forward. The fact is that the success of this line can make a whole lot of things possible that we never thought were possible. Cities grow through new jobs and new infrastructure. We're beginning to see the metro of the 21st century begin to take shape, and it's a very optimistic picture.
And we have to build on this success and go on and extend North Star Corridor and the Central Corridor to St. Paul. We are at a beginning, not at a conclusion.
This is not the end of rebuilding our transit infrastructure in the Twin Cities. This is the beginning, and we can build on this success.
That's what we're moving forward. And I remember a meeting that Mary Tambernino and I had to talk about light rail with John Wheeler, who directs day-to-day operations at the Mall of America, and Sam Grabarski from the Downtown Council. We were going to talk about light rail. It was the first time they'd ever met. Think about that. First time they'd ever met. We spent 10 minutes talking about the light rail line, and we spent the rest of the meeting talking about how we're going to make this region grow, how we can promote this region, and how we can be competitive economically. That's what this line is about, and that's what the future system is going to be about as well.
Almost 70 years old, and I can't drive at night at all anymore. So I'm looking forward to the point where I can't drive, period, in probably the not too distant future. Car is expensive to run. I would love to be able to leave it home more often than I do. I've had wonderful experiences on the buses. Unfortunately, I live on the way east side of St. Paul, so taking the light rail is not a very common occurrence for me, but I wish it were. I came in by Greyhound bus from Madison to the Twin Cities one day, and I came into the airport. I got off the Greyhound bus, and there was a number 54 bus going to downtown St. Paul. Grabbed my bag, jumped on the number 54, $1.75. I was downtown St. Paul, jumped off the 54, and there was a 70 going to practically my door. Jumped on that with my transfer, and I was home. Meanwhile, my neighbor was waiting for me to call and say, "Come get me." So I walked in their door and said, "I'm here." So she didn't have to drive the 15 miles or so to the airport and back to pick me up, which would have been much more expensive, much more polluting.
We need to be figuring out how to do this in different ways. We need to figure out how to move people. We can't just rely on the automobile because the highways are so destructive of neighborhoods. There's pollution that comes with it. And you can actually live a different kind of life if you've got high quality train and bus service. And that's what we needed to build. The idea here was to build the whole transit system, not just rail, but the bus system as well, so that people aren't so reliant on cars, so that living in the city and in the inner ring suburbs is a good thing, and so that development that occurs can be more compact and that we're not eating up farmland each and every time we build a new house in this region.
Pollution is a major reason why I'm for mass transit. We can't continue to spew stuff out into the air like we do. Even if the hybrids become the thing, which I hope they will be, or some similar technology, we need to have better, more efficient, more energy efficient, more air pollution efficient ways of getting around.
Beyond that, though, we need to have a transportation system that works if we're going to stay economically competitive in this region. There are going to be jobs for people. We've got to be able to move goods and services. That's what this is about.
I'm a person who doesn't like sprawl, and I think transit helps save a lot of land, for one thing, and it also creates more pedestrian-friendly kinds of potential for residential areas. I happen to live near the Metropolitan Stadium stop, and I can walk right to the transit, and I really like that.
Try the bus, try the train, try getting around the Twin Cities without a car for a while. Some of you can't because you just don't live someplace where it's possible. But get some bus schedules. If you're on a computer, go online. You can get the bus schedules. You can figure out how to get from there to there.
I'm just thrilled. The ridership on Hiawatha so far has been just about double, almost double what we predicted. But beyond that, the qualitative response to it, people like the ride. They see that it arrives on time. It's an experience that they want to have, and they tell their friends, so that qualitative response is building support for this line as well.
I just want to emphasize that this is the beginning. It's a system, and it's been fun to stand here today, and people are riding the train for the first time, and their reaction is just so positive, and they want more. So we all need to work together to make that happen.
The key here is that if you provide a high-quality transit option for people, and this is a high-quality transit option, people will use it. And that's what we need to do. We need to invest in these high-quality transit options, and then people will choose to ride the train, to ride the bus, and will provide a different way that people can live and move around in this region.